Hi, today I'm here with Oona Hanson, educator and parent coach and former English teacher. So Oona, you have written an article that captured our hearts. We just all loved it when we read it. It is about, that the thing that we're all confronting, which is what are our kids going to do this summer? And instead of sitting back and seeing how it plays out, you took the reins and you came up with Common Sense Camp. So the thing I love most about it is that everyone can do this, and you don't even have to follow your curriculum. You can put in the things that matter to your family. But I thought, tell me about it. How'd you come up with the idea?
Well, it's funny, my husband and I have joked for years whenever our kids did something, I don't know, just that seemed like it should be obvious that they should know how to do it just from observing us. And we would joke, oh my gosh, Common Sense Camp. So it's been kind of a tagline in our family, for 10 years. And so when this summer started, we realized their actual camps would be, not really happening, or at least not in the way that they wanted them to be happening. And we have the flexibility working from home. So we're not, essential workers. We have the privilege of being home. And as an educator, I like designing curriculum. So we sat down as a family. Really my husband and I were the cruise directors here, the camp directors. And we came up with, our goals for the summer. And I also love a theme. If you ask any of my friends or family, like whether it's a party or a gift, I love a theme. So for us, having a theme for each week really kind of gives shape to, how we're putting this all together. And
you're a camp counselor at heart.
I guess so. I never even went to camp except for field hockey camp. But my husband did go to sleepaway camp, and my kids used to go to sleepaway camp. Obviously this summer they're not. So we're just really excited to kind of tackle some of those practical life skills that you always think you're going to get to. And I think this summer just presented this incredible opportunity to really go deep on some of these topics. And obviously it's not like you're done once you teach it. There's going to be a lot of reinforcement and support as they go through the rest of the summer and beyond.
I would love to go through kind of how you came up with those 8 weeks. And also before we start, just to say that if anybody's listening to this, you could pick your own, right? Like it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely. And I felt really strongly that this was not a one size fits all curriculum that I could prescribe to another family. I'm sure there are lots of families that, their Venn diagram, the overlap would be considerable, but I think every family has their own values and goals, and the kids are different ages and they come to the table with different prerequisite skills. It's a very personal thing, but I think just sitting down with the kids and figuring out what do they want to learn more about.
Did they participate in the curriculum?
They gave some input. They were a little hesitant because they were worried it was going to be like school. They're pretty zoomed out. They like school, but this last semester was obviously challenging. So we're trying to limit the online, like there's a cooking class online, for instance, the kids could take, but we decided, let's get hands-on in the kitchen. They're kind of zoomed out. And we have the time and space to do it at home. So we will do it as much without Zoom as possible. Obviously there are some great YouTube video tutorials and things like that. The kids have been listening to podcasts. There's lots of good information out there, but we wanted to kind of stay away from the Zoom because in our family, the kids are zoomed out.
I think that seems to be the common sentiment around, especially when school is over and it hasn't gone as well as people had hoped. How old are your kids?
17 and 12.
Okay, and they've bought into this, or were they given an option, or?
They were not given an option. My younger one definitely was a little more hesitant. Wasn't sure how it was going to go. I think it sounded a little, I don't know, not like the joyful, fun camp that they're used to doing in the summer. But we are trying to bring in joy. So the lanyard thread is out. I've got the s'mores supplies ready in the pantry. So we want to make it as joyful as possible. And this is not an 8-hour day. We are breaking it up basically into a couple blocks, like a morning block, like an hour, and an afternoon block.
What's the theme of week 1?
So the theme this week is social justice, and we're focusing on anti-racism. So our kids were discussing Black Lives Matter and police brutality in their schools. And so we wanted to kind of pick up on what they'd already been learning. And because this Friday is the holiday Juneteenth, again, I told you I love a theme. So it just lent itself really well to starting with, it's a challenging topic, but it seemed to fit this week really well for a lot of reasons. And it's not like, again, we don't just end on Friday and never talk about anti-racism again. This is an ongoing conversation, obviously. An unexpected part of the curriculum is actually discussing the things we've covered as a, sort of as a camp. So that's something that we'll be continuing to work on this week.
So give me the highlight of this week.
So, what's been nice is we're giving the kids a chance to pick their own resources so that they have that sense of like internal motivation. So the kids are liking that. So my son really likes the New York Times podcast, the 1619 series. And my daughter's been sampling different articles, like they've been reading articles in her history class. She was taking American history. So she found an article written by an author she had read in history class. So she's kind of going deeper into things she already knew about. Whereas my younger one, he kind of almost wants to start it, like he liked going to 1619 and starting with episode 1. And he wants to kind of work his way through and really, really get some kind of history behind him because he hasn't had as much of that.
And he's 12?
12. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's impressive. So is there an activity like a Friday culmination of the week, had a graduation from the theme?
Right. So Friday, everyone's going to present what they want to take forward into daily life. So choosing either an organization to volunteer for or contribute to financially and or other actions that we want to take, whether it's postcarding for voter registration, becoming involved in groups at their schools. So we're going to, and obviously the parents, we're doing this too. So figuring out what we can take forward into our kind of daily life after this week. And then, understanding Juneteenth too, I wasn't sure, is it appropriate for a white family to celebrate Juneteenth? So I've been reading a lot about that. And I do think I want my neighbors to know what Juneteenth is. So we're thinking about making some kind of sign to put in the front yard, just so that someone says, what is Juneteenth? And they go and look it up. I know there's a movement now. I mean, it's already a holiday in a lot of states, but there is a movement to make it a national holiday. So I want us to be sort of helping that cause of spreading the word about this important holiday.
Okay, so this week one is probably the heaviest one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the other 7 weeks and what you're going to do. And also, are you and your husband participating in the curriculum?
In terms of certainly with anti-racism, we're trying to learn along with the kids. A lot of the skills going forward, things like laundry, cooking skills, we have the basics down ourselves.
You do?
I like to think so. My husband is a great cook. I still have a lot to learn. So, we're covering the basics on a lot of those things. So, it's those life skills, those things you think, shouldn't my teenager know how to do X, Y, Z? But you just never seem to have the time to really sit down and show them and let them practice and get feedback. So again, things like laundry, cooking, but then we go into things like, personal finance and how to make a budget and how to think about how you want to invest or donate, the money you get for your birthday. And then, some more practical things like emergency preparedness. We live in Southern California, so fires and earthquakes are just sort of in the background here. It's sort of part of life that you always need to be sort of prepared. So going over just some basic, home safety, and obviously my teenage driver will review, what happens when your car breaks down. And then, toward the end of the summer, we're going to be thinking about travel and transportation. Obviously, we're not going to be doing that for a while, but my husband's really excited to make sure the kids know how to read a map, how to take a subway map and figure out how do you get from point A to point B. And
oh my God, can I be in that class? Is there a way to take that? I spend my life lost. I really need to be a member of your family.
Yeah, no, I realize, as we rely more and more on, navigation apps, it's actually orienting, right? To rely on just a voice telling you turn left, turn right. So I'm really grateful that we're going to be slowing down and looking at physical maps, because you don't always have your, your GPS working or your phone dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you had, what was DIY?
So just learning basic household, how to change a light bulb. I don't think our kids have ever changed a light bulb. How to use a screwdriver, how to hang a picture. So, building a piece of IKEA furniture. My daughter goes off to college next year. She better learn how to build some IKEA furniture. So that's sort of the handy woman, handyman skills week. And then we want to make sure we keep giving the kids chances to practice these things going forward.
So every day they're doing an hour in the morning and then an afternoon session? Is that how you have it?
That's roughly the schedule. But again, the day we were doing a 2.5 hour long movie, we just did one block during the day. So we're trying to be flexible. And again, this is only day 2. So we're going to, at the end of the week, we'll check in as a family, have a little family meeting, around Sunday dinner or around the s'mores campfire. Won't really be a campfire because we live in LA, but, over the grill. And to kind of talk about what worked and did the different time slots work for them, and kind of how we can make it, work going forward.
I think it satisfies so many things that good communication in families fosters. Like, the idea of collaborating with your kids. And even though you got to decide, they were part of the process. I mean, those are just really good skills to have in life. Those are like the tertiary skills that they're going to get this week. And even the family meetings, right? Like the idea that learning how to articulate something clearly if you're frustrated. It's brilliant. Okay, so we need to hear back from you midpoint and at the end.
Sure.
To find out, is this going to become a business for you? And you're going to start writing curriculum, summer camp curriculum for people at home. So you also have a camp motto.
Yes. Well, we had a family motto before, which was be kind. But we realized because we were focusing on some practical things, we wanted to build in a little bit, different angles to this. So the first one is be observant. And this applies to so many things, whether it's social skills or noticing that your laundry's on the floor. So be observant, and then be useful. We often joke about, remember Thomas the Train trying to be a very useful engine, and that really helps build kids' self-esteem and sense of agency, to feel useful, that they can do things in the world. So that's really important to us. And then we did keep be kind. That's sort of baked in. So be observant, be useful, be kind. We feel like those 3 skills, they make for, great approaches to life, whether they're back in the classroom or in a dorm room or out in the workplace. And obviously it makes family life run a lot more smoothly if people are keeping those 3 goals in mind.
What's the response been for your kids' friends?
What's funny is a lot of kids, obviously they haven't really been interacting, there's been occasional text messaging, but what I'm hearing is that a lot of other families are trying aspects of this. And I'm sure my kids are maybe rolling their eyes or complaining a little bit, and that's to be expected. I'm not taking that personally. That's when you have adolescents, that's just part of the situation. So we'll see. Again, we're very early in the process, so I can't say it was a huge success.
Yeah, but it may never be more hopeful than it is today.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, Oona Hanson, thank you so much for writing the article, for doing this with your family, and for letting us get a glimpse into it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.